Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of books and reading and notebooks and writing to make life better and to feel better too. You'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how it can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebook invitations around particular themes, and you'll meet authors and special guests who'll help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your host, here with another episode on how reading and writing can make life better. But guess what? As I was getting ready for this episode, trying to decide which episode I was going to record, which episode I was going to go live with, which one I thought would be perfect for this week, I realized something that snuck up on me that I can't believe I really didn't pay attention to sooner, which is today's episode is the 200th episode of the podcast. Can you believe it? I have shown up here 200 times to talk about the joy, the pleasure, and the importance of reading and writing. And you have maybe showed up and listened 200 times to hear about those same things. So if you've been here from the beginning, thank you. Thank you so much for believing in this podcast, for believing in this work, for believing in me. And if you are new here, welcome. You have a long list of back episodes that you can dig your feet into, along with the new episodes that will be coming your way each week. So put your party hat on, cue the confetti, and let's celebrate the 200th episode by giving a special episode today. I want to talk about a quick recap, really, of where the podcast started, where it is, and where it's going. Yes, it is changing a little bit. I want to talk about the top 10 episodes of all time over the past couple of years on the podcast. And I want to invite you into a special invitation of something that I am doing this fall that I am really excited for. So let's go back to the beginning, right? Where did this podcast begin? Well, if I'm completely honest, it began in my childhood. And no, we are not going all the way back there today. Many of you on this podcast already know the story of how and why reading and writing is so critically important in my life. But I will say this, I have always been a reader and writer. I have always loved reading and writing. It has been there for me my entire life. When I needed friendship, when I needed comfort, when I needed support, when I was going through a hard time, when I was going through an illness or an injury or a life struggle, reading and writing were always there for me. And I just knew intuitively that when I did read and write, I just felt better. No matter what it was, reading and writing made me feel better. I didn't know why. I didn't know the science behind it, but I do now. Because in my 40s, when life took lots of other topsy turns, and I reignited my commitment and my love to reading and writing as a practice of self care and wellness, I wanted to know why. I always knew intuitively that it worked, but I wanted to know in a science research based way of why reading and writing made me feel better, made me feel good, and just made life feel good and feel better as well. And that's when I decided to launch this podcast. I wanted to share this idea that reading and writing are more than just hobbies. They are more than the things you do at the end of the day when your work is done to unwind. It's not just something to indulge or something to feel guilty about or something that you feel selfish about when you're just sitting down and reading a book. No, reading and writing are the underdogs of the wellness space. Reading and writing are tools for self-care. Reading and writing are tools for physical and mental health. And they need to be in our days, especially those who love reading and writing already. they need to be in our days as an integral part of it, not as an add-on that we get to enjoy if we are treating ourselves because we did everything else that we were supposed to do. So, this podcast was meant to share my love of reading and writing and share that joy and also share that science so that we could come together as a community around this very important idea. Now, in the beginning, the podcast looked very, very different than it does today. If you were here in the beginning, or if you scroll back all the way to episode one, you're going to see that the format I started out with was a three-book format. Each week, I would pick a theme and I would share three books that embraced that theme, right? So, in true style of bibliotherapy, if you wanted to know more about that theme or that topic or that transition or whatever it was, then you could read these three books and really give yourself a dose of bibliotherapy. So, some of those episodes were fun. Some of them were deep. Some of them were in between. There were episodes like three books when you need cake, three books to read when you're hungry, three books you need when you get a diagnosis, three books to read when you're going through a hard time, three books to read when you need a boost, three books you need to read for the fall season, three books you need to read, blah, 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 three books you need to read to get some holiday cheer. It took my idea of having something in your life connect to the books you're reading so that it could make you feel better and do better in the actual life you had. Now, I loved those episodes and I still weave in book recommendations into the podcast, but honestly, those episodes transitioned into my very most favorite thing inside my Get Literate private Substack community, which are my book calendars. So instead of three books around a theme, there are 28 or 29 or 30 or 31 as I give one book a recommendation every day of a month to really dive into a theme together. So on the podcast, I started to shift because I did love talking about books, but I wanted to say more. I wanted to talk more about the practices around them. How do you read those books with an open mind and an open heart in order to have them make a difference in your life? How do you take care of yourself and your shelf, as in shelf care? How do you pick the perfect book to read? When is the best time to read? And how can you settle into some reading routines? How do you winterize your reading life? Was one fun episode. Now, as I got going with those episodes, I realized that this was really what I love to talk about, the process and the practice in addition to the books. But I wanted to also share some of those things about my writing life, and those started to sneak into the podcast. I would talk about how to pick the perfect notebook, how to start a notebooking or journaling practice, how to know what to write about on a blank page, what to do with all of those empty notebooks sitting on your shelf. And at first, I thought, are people going to want to know about my writing life? This is a book podcast after all, but it turns out you did. And you do, because as you'll see in a few minutes, the episodes where I focus on writing, they are pretty much my top performing episodes. You want to know about reading, but you also want to know about writing too. And it was at this point where I changed the category of my podcast. My category used to be books for obvious reasons. But as I got going and the podcast changed, I realized the podcast isn't about just the books. It's about the process of changing our lives in relation to reading them. And so I shifted gears into the how to and self improvement and wellness space of the podcast world, which was a big shift for me. So that's where I am now. I am really leaning in or niching down, as people might say, into reading and writing as wellness. And wellness means a lot of things: physical wellness, mental wellness, creative wellness, relationship wellness. Whatever wellness means to you, I am 100% certain that books and notebooks and reading and writing can help you get to where you want to go. And that's the direction I'm going to keep moving in as I go to episode 201 and beyond. But before I talk a little bit more about what's next, and quite honestly, I ask for your help in something I desperately need help in. I want to talk about the top 10 episodes of all time since the Get Literate podcast began. Now, I won't go into detail about them too much, but I have linked to these top 10 episodes in the show notes. And I have added just a couple that may not have been my top performing episodes, but were the ones that I personally loved and hold close to my heart. And I think you should give another try. So, top 10 episodes. Let's start with number one, which has been and continues to be episode 105, The Right Habit with Dr. Nicole Jans. This episode was wonderful. It's for anyone with a dream to write in their heart. And I don't mean just be published. I mean just write. Make time in your life for writing. Figure out what a writing project could be for you and get it published if that's what you choose to do. And she has this really cool Write Habit planner that literally plans your life around your writing to make sure you get your writing done. So if you have a dream in your heart to write, episode 105 is for you. Up next, number two is episode 85, The Pleasure and Power of Planning with Sarah Hart Unger. I love Sarah Hart Unger. I just love her and her podcast, Best Laid Plans. And so I was beyond thrilled when she came on to talk about writing in a different way, writing to plan, writing to organize, this micro writing, these planning sessions that, number one, are a form of writing and literacy all by itself. But number two, if we really dig into our planning, then we can make sure we are finding and making the time for reading and writing that matters to us in our days. So that's episode 85, The Power and Pleasure of Planning with Sarah Hart Unger. Episode 77 is Joyful Junk Journaling with Jen Begin. Do you notice the theme? Top three are some really wonderful guests. This was such a fun episode. And not only did Jen talk to us about what junk journaling is and how it could really elevate our own notebooking practice with creativity, but she then joined us in our private community and led us on a junk journaling session, which was delightful. Number four, most downloaded episode, is episode 58, All Things Morning Pages. Yes, we have Julia Cameron morning page fans here. And in that episode, I talked all about what my morning page practice looked like and some of the plans that I had for it. Now, thinking about this, it really shows me that I need to do an update because my morning page writing in episode 58 is not what my morning page writing looks like in episode 200. So I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of a refresh for that episode. Episode 130 was one of my favorites, 5 kinds of notebooking. So 5 kinds of notebooking, the different kinds of writing you could do in your notebook. That has since evolved. Now I have 7. I have 7 kinds of restorative notebooking that can make life feel better by starting by putting your pencil to the page. So start there in episode 130, 5 kinds of notebooking, and then pretty soon you'll see an updated one with the 6 kinds. I'm sorry, the 7 kinds. And you can see which 2 I have added. Okay, up next is episode 110, 100 Days of Notebooking with Michelle Hazeltine. Oh, Michelle is a die-hard notebooker. She's the reason I call writing notebooking. She's the reason I don't get so afraid when I come to a blank page. She's a fellow blank page notebook lover, although I have gone to the dark side and gone to notebooks with lines. But if you just want some writing inspiration and you want a Facebook community to join, her 100 Days of Notebooking is one that I'm in and I highly recommend. Up next is episode 187, The Healing Power of Memoir with Wendy Dow. This was a session on telling our stories, right? Telling our stories, no matter what they are and who we are and where we are, and if they ever see the light of day, putting our stories down on paper matters. And Wendy gave us a really nice framework for thinking through that. Up next is episode 109, Book projects I love. This was such a fun episode. These were all the book projects that I had seen around the internet that I was jealous of. And I wish I thought of, and I wish I did, but I still don't. So you'll hear about Stephanie the Pie Lady and how she makes those amazing pies for the books that she reads. You'll also hear about people who make a crochet square for every book that they read and make this beautiful yearly quilt. Or maybe the people who print out their book covers on those little teeny tiny 3D books and make these beautiful Christmas ornaments with them. I love them. I want to do them. I'm jealous of them. I still don't do them, but I've got a collection of them in case you can actually do the thing and bring it to life. So that's episode 109, book projects I love. Now we've got two more to go for the top 10. Episode 50 is one of my favorites as well. Find Your Journaling Path with Christy Zimmer. If I could only recommend one person to really boost your journaling life, your notebooking life, your writing life, and layer it with just beautiful, joyful colors, Christy Zimmer would be your gal. Okay, Christy has these beautiful printable pages that are filled with color and white space to help you show up to the page and really reflect. Really think about things that could turn your life around in a wonderful, beautiful way. So that's episode 50. Got to scroll back a bit. Find Your Journaling Path with Christy Zimmer. And number 10 is episode 48, Journaling for Mental Health. This is what kicked off my whole journey of restorative writing. And in this episode, I have multiple ideas across different kinds of writing, whether you like stream of consciousness writing or list writing. I've got something for everybody. The kinds of writing that can literally make your brain feel better. So that's episode 48. Now, I did say I wanted to highlight just a couple. I've got four that if you haven't listened to these episodes, some are recent, some are way, way back, then I want you to. I want you to scroll back and listen to them. So, one that I think is timely from last year that I think you should listen to is episode 161, How to Winterize Your Reading Life. How to make your reading life warmer and cuddlier and cozier and insulated from anything that could rob you of that reading time and just layer the comfort on. So that's episode 161, How to Winterize Your Reading Life. Episode 165 is a personal favorite. It's aromatherapy for readers and writers. If you are subscribed to my weekly literate love letter, you know that I've recently dipped my toes into an aromatherapy journey. I am now associated with doTERRA. I am getting mentoring from Elena Brower. I am going deep into all things aromatherapy, the aromatherapy in the air, the rollers that I put on my skin, all of it, how it can help us feel better, but how it can enhance through a beautiful sensory experience the reading and writing that we do. So stay tuned for more to come on that and maybe even my own special blend for readers and writers. Episode 142. If you don't know this episode, I think we could all use it. 20 ideas for your empty notebooks. Okay? I know you've got notebooks. I know you've got notebooks lying around. You think they're too pretty. You think you're going to mess up the pages. You're waiting for some special idea or just because now's the time. I have 20 ideas to take that stack of notebooks out and just get started. You cannot benefit from the benefits of writing unless you're actually putting pen to paper. And this podcast gives you a whole bunch of ideas, 20 of them, on a continuum of writing from bullets to longer writing to letters to creative things to washi tape and stickers, all sorts of things. And now, lastly, the one that I just had fun preparing for. So, back in the beginning, when I was doing those three books episode, my favorite was three books about cake. Episode 19. That is where I found magical realism. And that took me down a rabbit hole that I am happily still not crawling out of in this particular space. So, if you love cake, If you love frosting, if you love baking, I highly recommend you go listen to episode 19, Three Books About Cake, and then you add some of those books to your TBR. So there you have it. So far, we've talked about where I started, where the podcast started, where we are, and where we're going. Really niching into this reading and writing as tools for wellness and making life better because I love the current flow that we currently have in the podcast. If you've noticed, I alternate. I go from a writing episode to a reading themed episode to more of a calendar or seasonal themed episode to guest episodes and then maybe a bonus of something else. And I weave back and forth between all of these things that I love and are dear to me in hopes that I bring you a nice balanced look across restorative reading and writing. So you can expect a couple more guests coming up in the fall, which I'm really excited to finally get on the podcast. And I'm going to keep going with that ebb and flow based on, of course, what I see you pushing play on. Those episodes that rise to the top, tell me you want more like those, and I promise I will listen. But in thinking about what's next, there's something big that I need your help with, something I have been fighting for a long time. Now, I want to grow this podcast. I want as many people as possible to understand that reading and writing can change the game for them, right? And in order to do that, I have to make my podcast discoverable to other people. I've got to pay attention to things that I really don't have much interest in, like SEO or searchability or rankings or listen scores, all of those things that really didn't matter to me and still don't matter to me because I am here because I want to talk about the things I love. In order to get this podcast found by other people, I need to know about those things. And so I learn. I'm in courses. I take master classes. I show up to learning experiences to learn how to grow my podcast in the best, most organic, most authentic way possible. And here's the feedback I get time and time and time again. I don't care who the teacher is, who the instructor is, who the so-called podcast guru is. They're all telling me the same thing. And so far, I've ignored them. But I think now I have to listen. And here it is. And here's why I need your help. Every single person who knows something about podcasts and is sharing that information with others has told me, Stephanie, you need to change your name. Not my name, of course. I need to change the name of the podcast. They want me to change the name of the Get Literate podcast, the name that I so cleverly thought of, right? Get literate. Being literate is reading and writing. But when you put those little parentheses in literate, it shows get lit-erate, which means use literacy to light up your life in lots of different ways, right? And when I explain that to them, you can't possibly ask me to change my name. Look at what it represents. They say, yes, that's wonderful. But the only way to be discoverable is to have keywords in your podcast name that match the keywords people are searching for in their podcast search bar or their Google search bar. People who want to find a podcast about books and reading, who want to find a podcast about notebooks and writing, who want to find a podcast about using both of those things to make life better and feel better through hard life challenges, they are not going into the search bar and typing, how do I get literate? And they're certainly not typing, how do I get literate with the parentheses in the right place? And that means they're not going to find me. And I've tested it. I've tested it across browsers, across AI. These people are right. My show will not be found because my name does not have any of my buzzy keywords in it. So in 2026, I am likely changing the name of the podcast. I will keep Get Literate as the wonderful name of my private community on Substack, because once you're in my podcast, you're going to understand what that get literate phrase means. And you can join me in Substack with that beautiful group of humans who talk about books and reading and notebooks and writing every week. But in order to find me, I need something different. So, right now, my tagline to the podcast is read, write, feel better. So, here are some of the name suggestions that have been thrown around. I want to know which one resonates the most with you, which ones you like the most. And hopefully, if none of them do, you're going to send one that you think is perfect my way because you've been listening to me. So, there's read, write, feel better. There's restorative reading and writing. There's restorative reading and writing for wellness. There's read and write to change your life, right? There's a bunch of suggestions that have been given to me so that when people go into the search bar and they type what they're looking for, books, reading, notebooks, writing, feel better, wellness, growth, whatever those terms are, healing, my podcast shows up because those words are in my name. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I'm finally ready to say, yes, I can change the name of the podcast only because my Substack community will remain my Get Literate community, which I adore so much. So please send your ideas my way. Email me, stephanieaffinito@gmail.com. Find me on social media at AffinitoLit and send me a private message. Click the button to send me an audio message and talk through the titles you would want to see. I want to know. And I'll be putting this in my weekly literate love letter as well, so that you can comment there and we can have a nice conversation about what the best name might be. But I also said I had a special invitation for you. Now, this invitation isn't necessarily connected to celebrating 200 episodes, but I guess it could. I guess it could be. A couple of episodes back, I talked about why you needed a restorative reading and writing pencil pouch, how that could be the game changer for everything. The tangible reminder of the self care you want to give yourself through reading and writing, the tools you need to have an open mind and an open heart to learn from the page to take to your life off of it. And I loved seeing the restorative pencil pouches that you made for yourself. And I've still been tinkering with my own. But I realized something. How fun would it be to create a fall autumn themed restorative reading and writing pencil pouch where I pick the pouch and anywhere between 5 and 10 goodies that I stuff in it so that you have the best restorative reading and writing season this fall because you have these beautiful tools to invite you into the practice. And so that's what I've done. I've created, it's so adorable. It's so wonderful. I have created just 20 of them restorative pencil pouches. I'm calling it the Fall Pause Pouch so that we can pause in this busy season and remain grounded and seek clarity and enjoy all the comforts of the autumn season. So you'll have a pencil pouch coming your way, and I will fill it with things like, so including but not limited to, things like a miniature notebook for your nudge notebook or your quote collector, a beautiful writing utensil, bookmark, maybe some sticky flags, stickers, maybe a candle, maybe a tea bag. Who knows what I'm putting inside this fall pouch? But I've got to tell you, I have had so much fun sourcing it. I am not going to the dollar store, people, and filling this. This needs to be restorative. These need to be items that are from small businesses, local small businesses, national small businesses through Etsy or craft fairs. These are people I'm reaching out to not only share beautiful products with you, but to lift up their businesses as well. And I am so excited with how it's turning out. So I just released the link to sign up for that to my email list last week, on my Literate Love Letter this past Friday. And I'll also now be posting on social media for those that want to get a pouch of their own. Think of it as your first Christmas present, your first holiday present to yourself. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can click the link in the show notes. And who knows, if this round goes well and it is fun as it has already proven to be, I could see myself doing this every quarter. Who doesn't need a new pencil pouch filled with new materials to match the theme and mood of the season to help bring reading and writing into your life as mainstay practices, keystone practices that really trickle down to every other area of your life. So I hope you take a look at that. I want to end with one last thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for supporting me and all of my ideas. I've loved absolutely every episode, every connection that I have had because of this podcast, every friendship that is formed because of it. It means so much to me and has truly changed my life in such beautiful ways. And I hope that I can just give a little bit of that back to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And stay tuned for what's to come in the podcast that you're going to help me name next. See you in the next episode, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned on the episode in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Substack community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, bibliotherapy book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you'll get instant access to all of the previous content, too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a bookish friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish communities too. Thanks for listening.